Hello and welcome friends to my program Book Review. The title for the day is Royals and Rebels, The Rise and Fall of the Sikh Empire by British historian Priya Atwal. The book has much to do with Sikh-Mughal relationship as opposed to the popular narrative that brings religion into the Sikh-Mughal conflict. The historical relationship between the two had too many shades of grey, writes the lady author who is a researcher at Oxford. In the book, the author notes that the Sikh popular memory tends to have a negative image of the Mughals, but historically, Sikh-Mughal relationship was never wholly antagonistic, which she explains in a very revealing fashion. What we think of as popular memory is actually a constant evolving thing, and it's never constant, or it's never the same. While it's the painful events such as the execution of the Sikh gurus that tend to dominate popular memory, the author has highlighted the evidence that overall Sikh-Mughal encounters were not wholly hostile. Albeit briefly, the gurus were at times supported and at times they themselves extended support to certain Mughal royals. Their Gurbani additionally shows how they assimilated and challenged Mughal ideas of power to forge their own vision of a fair and virtuous society. Women were crucial in the story of the Sikh Empire. Sikh history shows that Punjabi women have been active in politics for centuries. Women were integral to the story of Sikh Empire. Ranjit Singh never would have become a Maharaja without the protective support of his mother, Raj Kaur, after the death of his father, Maha Singh. When Ranjit was just 10, Raj Kaur safeguarded the Sukar Chakia missile for her son until he came of age. The Sukar Chakia missile was one of the 12 Sikh missiles, or say Sikh Confederacy, in Punjab during the 18th century, concentrated in Gujranwala and Hafizabad district in western Punjab in modern Pakistan, and ruled from 1752 to 1801. The Sukar Chakia last Misildar, commander of the missile, was Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Towards the end of the 18th century, Maharaja Ranjit Singh united all the missiles and established an independent kingdom in Punjab. Moreover, Ranjit Singh would have certainly struggled to conquer Lahore without the support of his in-laws, the Kanhaiya and Nakai missiles, whose troops accompanied him to lay siege to the Lahore fort in 1799. It was actually his formidable mother-in-law, Sada Kaur, who negotiated a peace settlement with Sikh Sardars occupying the fort at the time, ensuring that they departed without causing further bloodshed. Both mother figures were crucial in teaching the young Ranjit Singh how to be a civil and effective ruler. The book presents a very interesting picture of the Maharaja's multiple marriages and his wives taking part in the power game, with the last wife, Jeend Kaur, becoming the Queen Regent. The Maharaja had at least 30 wives. You beat it? According to author's estimate, the title includes a marriage map which plots where these women came from. Ranjit Singh's queens were Sikh, Hindu and even Muslim. His marriages helped current Sukar Chakia dynasty ties throughout the different classes and ethnic groups of its growing empire within and beyond Punjab. Jeend Kaur was his latest and the most famous queen, giving her a dramatic role fighting against the East India Company in the 1840s and attempting to preserve the Sikh Empire's independence. However, Rani Jindal, though an incredible woman, was no exception in the key political role that she played as Queen Regent. She was following in the footsteps of Raj Kaur and Sada Kaur, as well as Ranjit Singh's other forgotten wives, who were also variously military leaders, ambassadors, educators of princely sons and artistic patrons. It would therefore be entirely false to claim that Punjabi women's participation in politics is only a recent phenomenon. They have been political for centuries. On a tricky question asked by a reporter about social media that often circulates rather disturbing illustrations depicting the execution of Sikh gurus that came with strong anti-Muslim rhetoric, the author writes, until the 19th century, Punjabi authors like Bhangu were trying to show that Emperor Babur had Guru Nanak's sanctity to rule over India. When the Sikhs attempted to put their guru's ideas into practice, seeking power and challenging oppressive regional elites, including Mughal lords and Hindu hill rajas, they began facing prosecution. Yet the Sikhs withstood this, becoming kings themselves by the end of the 18th century. It was then that they too began carefully embracing some of the trappings of the Mughal royalty, including commissioning new histories of Punjab. Ratan Singh Bhangu's Shri Guru Pant Prakash was produced in this context. He and other 19th century historians effectively reimagined the story of Sikh-Mughal relations to assert the legitimacy of Ranjit Singh's generation as the rightful rulers of Punjab. The book deals with the anti-monarchists who say that Maharaja Ranjit Singh destroyed the republican nature of Sikhi by founding a Sikh state based on hereditary kingship, where the author believes that the path was shown by the Sikh gurus themselves and the various Mizil Sardars who followed them. The author found during her doctoral research that there was clearly some unease, even disapproval amongst a particular group of 20th century Sikh historians about the monarchical status of Ranjit Singh. They connected his royal style of government to the eventual downfall of Sikh Raj, claiming that monarchical rule went against the republican ethos of the Khalsa and therefore doomed his dynasty to failure. However, more recent research by scholars has powerfully highlighted that a royal state of rulership was readily embraced by Sikh Mizil Sardars well before Ranjit Singh became Maharaja in 1801, and indeed that the Sikh gurus themselves never outrightly condemned monarchy as a form of government in Gurbani. Instead, it is coming to a new understanding of how in Sikh philosophy ideas of kinship have been routinely deployed as metaphors, and in the 1700s and 1800s were directly adopted to give expression to Sikh sovereignty. So that's all for today. Goodbye and see you soon, friends.